Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Warriors fall in. It's time for formation. So today we're joined with one of Act Now Education board members. She's currently the vice president of Act Now Education. She's also a retired 20-year Navy veteran. And today she's going to talk with us about her own transition experiences, her role with Act Now Education, and what the organization is all about. Today I'm very fortunate and honored to have the Vice President of Act Now Education, Patel, aka Micki Patel. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, KP. It's exciting to be here.
I am so used to just calling you Micki. Like it took me a second to pronounce your real name, Patel, which is what's listed on your background over there.
Let's go with Micki.
We'll just go with Micki, right? That's what you're known as. When did that name start for you anyways?
Oh my goodness. So actually it started when I was a baby. And it's funny because everybody's always asking me, Banal does not correlate with Micki at all.
Yeah.
So when I was born, my uncle was supposed to give me my given name and he hadn't come up with it yet. So when my parents brought me home, the neighborhood, like all the people came to see me. And my mom said that one girl was like, oh, what's her name? What do we call her? And my mom said, oh, we don't have a name for her yet. And she proposed that I should be called Micki. So everybody was like, okay, we can go with Micki. So my name is Micki and I have a brother whose nickname is Donald, but we go by Micki and Donald.
That's funny. You guys are like Disney characters.
Well, when we have a friend together, we go with the goofy in the middle.
I love it. I love your sense of humor, by the way. Ever since I've been a member of Act Now Education, you and several other members, you have really great senses of humor. And I love it. When I think of Micki, I think of that 80s song, and I'm sure you've heard it over and over again. People have sang it to you, right?
Many times. I love it still because I always try to dance to it. It does not work out, but
if you were a WWE wrestler or a UFC fighter, that would be your entrance music, right?
It would be. I would have to come up with a really cool dance for it though.
As you're walking to the octagon or to the ring.
Like when I'm pointing at the fighter that's in the ring right now, when I'm like, I got you. I don't know if that's intimidating though.
I think it would be because it would be unexpected. Totally
that is true. I mean, I am like very short. I have that Napoleon concept sometimes, so I would come out of nowhere.
You are very short. I just saw a recent picture of you standing next to some other gentleman, and we'll get into talking about that as well because I just remembered that you recently took a trip to DC, right?
I did, to the Capitol Hill, and it was awesome. I tell you, I was a little scared at first, and I definitely am not very, I don't want to say good, but I try to stay away from the limelight. I try to be the background person to make things happen and, keep things going. But when I'm given the opportunity, I will tell you honestly, Jay did force my hand to it. He did not tell me what it was. He told me that it was a round table. So I was like, okay, I can do the round table. Got in touch with the communicator of the in Capitol Hill. I did not know I was calling somebody in there. And once he started telling me that there was going to be members of Congress there and a couple of representatives, I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And Jay Salters basically was like, if I had told you, I knew you wouldn't go. So I just blinded you to it. I'm like, you know what? He helps me get out of my comfort zone and I appreciate it. It definitely was well worth to explain the process of transitioning to, those who actually cared about it.
Yeah, we'll dig a tier or two deep into that here in a minute. But for everyone else out there listening, folks out there have seen you post on the Act Now Education Facebook group. They've seen you interact on LinkedIn and a number of other places, Micki, but I thought it was really important and would be a really great idea to get you behind the microphone and on video to talk about a little bit about yourself, where your background is. And so what is your current role with Act Now Education?
So as you mentioned, I am the vice president for Act Now Education, and I started out as a research and a content creator. because I love creating things. It's my niche. And Jay saw that. He got me into the Act Now education when we only had about 3,000 followers. And in the beginning of, the conception of Act Now education. And we have grown to about 30,000 followers as of 2 days ago, which was really
Yes.
exciting. I know. And we are
Awesome.
growing like almost every day. Today was our orientation, which happens every Saturday at 1 p.m. And that definitely brings a lot of people. But back to my role, I am the second person, after Jay. And the way he had put me in charge, it was funny because he had gone on a trip when I had come in about 4 months into it. And he basically was like, hey, I have to do this trip for work. Can you please take charge? And I was like, yes, just keeping things running and day to day in and day out kind of thing. And sooner but later, he started calling me VP, and he told me that he was testing it out to see how it was going to work out.
Hmm.
And then at the end, it ended up being that I was a fit for that role according to him. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Wow, Jay has a real talent when it comes to recognizing and acknowledging people's skills and overall potential. Because
Absolutely.
same with me, like I was on Clubhouse just talking in a random room, and Jay kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, let's talk here. Let's maybe we can work together. I've got this great organization." He started telling me about it, and I was like, "Heck yeah!" And then from there went into the interview, which you were a part of that interview, right?
Yep. Yes, I was. I
Yes.
think you had
And
about 8 people.
yeah, I don't know, like it literally brought everyone to the yard. And
I don't know what it was, but Jay was really excited about this, the whole prospect of bringing you on. And I don't know why we had 8 people to
oh my
interview.
goodness, I was not, so I didn't know that either. I wasn't expecting that. Jay, when he told me to do the interview with the Acno education team, I thought, okay, yeah, it'll be like 2 people or whatever. And all of a sudden the screen, it was by Zoom, so the screen pops up and all of a
Yes.
sudden I see 8 people, and I'm like, oh, well, was all 8 people going to ask me questions here? And then so it was a real good experience. I'm glad that I wasn't like psyched out about it. I'm glad that I
Yeah.
just went in raw, because all my answers were just right from the heart. They were right what was on my chest and in my mind at that time. So
I think you
and
did really good, when we talked about it, except for the pen selling thing. Um,
yeah, I was like, am I going to sell pens? That was Yasmin that asked me that question. And
yes,
I was like, I don't know how to sell that pen that you have, but it's a good pen.
it
So,
is a good pen. You should have a pen.
so, one of the things that you talked about earlier was comfort zones. And that's what I love about being part of the ACNO education team, is always pushing yourself beyond those comfort zones. And I think that ACNO education as a whole really gives people the opportunity to go out there and get those certifications, get that extra education, that extra knowledge to push yourself to get outside those zones, but also grow. And with that being said, Micki, we want to get to know you just a little bit. So, would you mind sharing a memorable moment of a time when you were in the military that you were pushed outside your comfort zone? Maybe it was when you joined, maybe it was when you got promoted. I mean, you spent a 20-year career in the military. Would you mind sharing with the group a time when you were pushed outside your comfort zone, and what was the outcome of that?
Oh, absolutely. So very, like I said, I'm not, you know, I am not a person that likes to be in the limelight, as much of a bubbly personality people think I have. I am very good working in the background for many of the causes and things I do. And my work ethic has definitely been one of those things that I always prided myself on as I grew up in the military. I always told my sailors, I was like, work in a manner where when you're asking for things, nobody has the right to say no, because you're forcing their hand to say yes, because they're like, you've done this many things. And it's like, if you want one thing, how can I say no to that? Right. And I definitely um, attribute that to my dad. He always
Yeah.
said that work in a manner where if you're gone for half a day, your presence is missed. It might not be the right way to be missed, but I think it's my joking way that people miss sometimes.
Hmm.
But anyway, Sailor of the Year. It was one of those comfort zones that I was definitely pushed up. My leadership, right? I had this one. She's a Master Chief right now. She's actually a CMC Command Master Chief,
Mhm.
Shelly Zakimi, who was definitely always pushing me out of my comfort zone. She saw the potential, and it would just wasn't me. It was all of us that worked for her. She would see a potential, and she would put you in a position that you could not say no to, right? So she put me, I was on leave one time and I came back and I found out I was the treasurer for MWR that I did not apply for. She nominated me and I apparently won. And I was like, how did this happen? She's like, oh, I put you in for it. You won it. I was like, okay. And she was the one that put me in for the Sailor of the Year. That was my first time in like 5 years of me being in the military that somebody had seen my work ethic and took a chance on me and put it in there. And I was so nervous. It was one of the most nerve-wracking things that I had done because it's definitely a one-way board, right?
Mhm.
Where people are asking you questions, like you said, as an interview, I had about 6 people that were asking me questions, but this was not a two-way conversation. This was a one-way conversation down the line.
Mhm.
And my best attribute is to make jokes about things. So, I definitely won it by making people laugh, I believe, but that was definitely outside my comfort zone. Coming in the military, I tell you what, to be honest, I've had one of the easiest careers that I can think of. And it was the minute I came in, I had great leadership throughout my career who saw my potential and pushed me to that brink where I had to do something because they were putting me in uncomfortable zones. And it was either you excel or you crumble. And I didn't know what crumbling was. So I always, excelled at what they put me in. I always try to, because one of the other things we learn in Indian culture is respect your elders and respect your authority. And elders was definitely one of those things that always stuck with me. I never wanted to be the disappointment that these people would see. So, and so that was one of the things that was always a pushing factor. It's like I always want to be one better than I was last time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And when you talk about going to Soldier of the Year board, that's a lot of preparation. And you're literally standing on a stage in front of people that are judging you and critiquing you, what you've
Yeah.
done, what you're doing now, and who you are. So that is a huge monumental moment when it comes to, being in the limelight and speaking in front of people. Now, Micki, when you retired out of the Navy, what rank did you retire as?
I retired as an EA.
Okay, and you spent the majority of your career in what type of job?
Oh my goodness. So when I said I had an easy career, I also had a very different career path than many people. I can tell you that I came in the military as a what we call a deck seaman. I always make it equivalent to a grunt that comes in the Marine Corps because I work side by side with them. Um, when I first came in, then I became a personnel man, which is basically an admin person in the Navy. And finally, after 4 years and 4 tries of applying to be a tech IT, which is information systems technician in the Navy, I finally got my package accepted and I was finally accepted into the community. So I retired as an IT. Majority of my years were spent as an IT, but all those other ones that I had been through definitely paved the road for the person that I would become in the end.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense because right now you're currently employed with who?
Microsoft.
Yes, makes a lot of sense right there, doesn't it? All kind of lines right up. So, Mickey, when you retired out of the Navy, um, what was your career transition like when you retired? Were you as prepared as you wanted to be, or do you think that you could have been better prepared?
So the retirement process started the day one of boot camp. I had told myself I was gonna do 20, right?
No.
Till I came to 2 years out of me pushing the button to get out. I thought I was ready. I thought I had everything I needed to in order, education wise and things like that. I had planned. Um, when I pushed the button, everything that I thought I had planned went out the window. It was the past 2 years before I left the military, which was last year in August, was very hectic, stressful, the most very anxious
Mhm.
time of my career. Coming in the military, easy peasy, because military spends 12 to 16 weeks to bring you into the military, to
Right.
get you acclimated, right? To how you understand the culture. But when they tell you to go home, you're on your own. You have no idea what it's like to be outside. I spent
Right.
my whole adult lifetime in the military, 20 years, and at age 38 I'm trying to get out, trying to figure out what I want to do, who I'm going to do with, when I get out. My family was definitely walking on eggshells. I was losing hair. As you can see, I have a lot of gray hairs. I
No, you
think it's from
don't.
the, transitioning
No, you
itself.
don't.
You but things like that. I thought I was ready. I was not prepared. um I was definitely ready but not prepared. I was so lucky that I found Jay in the beginning of the process,
Mhm.
right? As soon as I had graduated from college, I was looking at certifications. I was looking at what I wanted to do at the end. I knew I wanted to work with people, but I didn't know in what capacity. Like if I wanted to be an HR or if I wanted to do something different, right? I was so thankful I found Act Now Education via Jay. We had a one-on-one conversation. It was about 30-minute conversation. After the conversation, he sent me a 5-page PDF of lists that of things of lists that I should go through. Definitely called them like a month or two after. I didn't finish all 5 pages, but I was very close to it,
Mhm.
which is another reason why he brought me on the team, because he was very surprised that I actually took time to go through the list itself and tick mark all of the things, because he said nobody had actually done that and nobody had actually followed up with him with it. So he was like, yeah, I definitely needed you. So it was very stressful. And like I said, 2 days ago, I went to the Capitol Hill, and one of my analogies I used taps and transitioning process is like drinking out of a fire hose. You don't fill up a bucket with a fire hose. You need to have droplets of information to fill it up. And I feel like it was one of those things that I am definitely an advocate for, because I don't want people to go through what I went through. I
Right.
don't want people to have a stressful time when it's supposed to be a happy time, right? Because you are making a transition into something that's unknown. You're making a transition into something where you're going to be spending more time with your family, right? It's that light at the end of the tunnel for many. It
Right.
shouldn't be a light coming as a train. It should be a light of a aha moment, is what I think. And to have all these resources that we tap into as Act Now Education, I definitely felt like it was a relief.
Yeah.
It was a mindset change from I am so stressed. I have so much going on. I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I'm a single mother of his 11-year-old son, I didn't
Mhm.
know I was going to have a job after I got out. I didn't know if I was going to be okay. I didn't know I was going to go broke. You hear about veterans on the streets. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to excel and be something different and better than what I was last year, as I've said. And so it was stressful.
Yeah. It's fascinating to hear more about you, Mickey. You're right about the frustrations of career transition. You think that you understand that when you get out that you're gonna know how to speak the language of a civilian position. And in reality, when you sit across from that recruiter, it doesn't hit you until you're sitting in that seat and you're trying to explain what the heck a E8 does in your
Mhm.
specific field, and you're using military language and you're using military certifications, and the recruiter's looking at you like, "What the heck are you talking about?"
Yep.
And um, that's something that I also experienced as well. I thought I was ready. I literally told everyone, "Get out of my way. I got this. I got my resume. I know how to write. I'm smart.
Yeah.
I'm this and that." Did not ask for any other help elsewhere, but absolutely fascinating to hear your passion overall. And Micki, think about it. We're building a community at Act Now Education, and right now we're over 30,000 strong. You're literally helping out 30,000 members of the military community. We're talking about veterans, service members, military spouses, helping them make better decisions for tomorrow. And I always like to tie that to, and it's something we don't talk about all that much, but that landing spot after the military is really important. And people talk
Mhm.
about, how can I help, the suicide rates of our military veterans, our military community. Um, I really feel like what we're doing really helps because having that landing spot, that career transition where your family can live where you want to live, get the salary that you want to get, have the role that you want to have, helps with that overall process of going from the military to the civilian life. And so I highly respect the founding members of Act Now Education like yourself, and I really appreciate you bringing me into the fold of this as well. And things happen for a reason, Micki, and there's a
Yes.
reason why Jay and I were in that clubhouse room together, and I'm
Yes.
very fortunate to be part of Act Now. When when Jay approached me about it, I was honestly a little bit skeptical. I was a little bit about, because in the military, we're used to the used car salesman that's sitting right off of base, right, trying to sell us that
Yes.
lemon.
Lemon.
and
Yep.
and so I was a little skeptical about it, and the more he talked about it, and the more I heard passion in his own voice about he cared about the community. And then that was further advanced when I actually had my interview with the entire Act No Education team. There's no strings attached to Act No Education. We're legitimately folks that care about the
Yes.
community. No strings attached to that. Um, and I guess my next question for you, Micki, would be, what has been the overall impact? We know that Act No Education currently has around 30,000 members, part of our community. But what other impacts has Act No Education been a part of over the years?
So we hear this a lot, and I would say Tyrone is definitely one of those people that have a huge impact on the community, along
Right.
with Jay himself. And I'll say honestly, having you within the team has definitely been one of those other channels where we have been able to have impact if we weren't able to reach those. Um, I think Act Now Education impact, like you already mentioned, like somebody had actually told us, is like by educating and providing people with resources, we're also helping them, with suicide prevention. We
Hmm.
had never thought about it because people sometimes get stuck in a rut,
Right.
right? So it's very hard for them to understand what could be or what if, and when we bring all these resources to their fingertips, it's
Right.
like, hey, this is a plethora of things available to you for free, and all you have to do is apply for some of those things or click a button for some of the other things, right? And move forward. There are so many. There are about 40,000 different companies out there whose sole purpose is to help military family transition and better their life, right? So, and the thing is, we don't tap into those resources very often. So I appreciate that Act Now Education brings all those into one places, right? So we help provide suicide prevention with education and things. We bring things into one place, at fingertips where people can just click a button. It's like, oh, there's a resource for that, right? Like
Right.
I see it every day. Somebody's like, hey, is there a resource for PMP? Yes. And like now we're getting our members within the group that are actually being proactive and helping you other members. I saw the other day somebody asked about the PMP, and one of the members were like, well, did you go look at the guide? Here are the screenshots. And I so much wanted to be like, I appreciate you, but I didn't want to come out as condescending,
Hmm.
but I appreciated that they were actually being part of the community where people
Right.
want to help each other. So that community aspect that people might not have on the other side, or because when you leave the military, one thing we leave behind is that community feel.
Hmm.
So having that community, as Act Now is definitely hyping people up.
Yeah.
I always told my friend, I was like, if I'm at this level and you're here, I'm gonna bring you up here because we have to go on vacations together. And if you
Hmm.
can't afford my vacations, you can't come, you know, and
Right.
we can't be friends, you know, because I never want to one up you. I want to one up together, you know.
Right.
It's like we have to be at the same level. And so I love the fact that we're always pushing each other to be better, you know,
Right.
to do better, not only for ourselves, but the community itself. So those are some of the things that I think it benefits from have being part of Act Now, being around Act Now, because you're acting around it, you know.
Hmm.
It's not just somebody sitting behind and watching somebody else do it. It's you in the action
Yeah.
and
And
helping others.
I love the overall quality control that we have. I mean, every you talked about 40,000 businesses out there, partners that we involve ourselves with. Those are not just people that we find on the internet. Those are people that we sit down and we have a Zoom conversation with face to face, and we decide as a team, as a board, do we want to continue doing work with this specific organization, because we're very protected about this community.
Yes.
We're building a culture of what you're talking about, of a culture of helping each other level up, and it's a beautiful thing when you see the community members themselves reaching out to help one another out. And
Yes.
I just had a conversation with Malcolm Smith, who he's now an executive um, working for Citi, and he utilized Empower, which is one of our many
Yes.
partners. And so I sat down and had a conversation with him and talked about his experiences overall, because I think folks like to hear true stories about people who used these nonprofits, these partners that are
Mhm.
through Act Now Education, and leveled themselves up, had a great landing spot, and are doing really well. Um, Going back to what you talked about with the ties to the suicide rates and suicide prevention, I think that we don't talk about it enough, about how important it is for us to help each other out and to have that sense of community belonging.
Yep.
And that's what we have at Act Now Education. And you know i I really appreciate, Jay, you, like I said, all the founding members for starting this whole thing, because it's an actually very beautiful community that's being created over here at Act Now Education. And for folks out there that may not be familiar with Act Now Education and what we're about, Micki, what are the top three things that people need to know about Act Now Education?
So number one is there are 40,000 different companies, right, built to help military, active duty, transitioning military spouses, and dependents. It's very overwhelming. They all have different purpose and different agendas on how they want to help. So what we do is we are a reliable resource that bring all of those resources in one place. I do a lot of research, right? Jay, he can pop things out from his brain just like that, but I do a lot of research on what's available out there for us for free. People ask me, it's like, hey, how do I get my LinkedIn? And I was able to give one person about 5 different things to prepare for their LinkedIn. So we bring all the resource in one place at the hand of at the fingertips.
Right.
That's one of those things we do. One other things we do is we build a community, a community where everybody is always helping each other. Everybody wants to make sure that the somebody else is bettering themselves. That's one of those things we are doing. And the other thing I think is like definitely a reliable partnership with other entities where we are able to expand our reach. So we have definitely partner with ACP in the past, where we were able to bring mentors for military spouse. We had launched a campaign for that, which was helping other military spouse better themselves. They wanted to get out of their careers, or they wanted to just have a mentor that can help them as they're going, because a lot of them think they're just a military spouse. That's not a thing.
Right.
You are a military spouse that has sacrificed many of those things to make sure that your service member and your family is not worrying about what's behind, right? And mid deployment, you don't have to worry about those things. That's what a military spouse does. They definitely sacrifice so many of those things, and we wanted to make sure that they had the platform to understand that they can do better if they wanted to,
Right.
and we have those resources for them. And definitely bringing all those in one place, we had also partnered with Coursera, where we're bringing them courses to make sure that we have one person, I think he has done 244 different Coursera courses and achieved certifications from Google, IBM, certifications, for all Splunk,
Wow.
like you name it, they are doing these courses to get certifications so you can be uh, more advertisable,
Right.
to those companies that you're looking at to get a job. I definitely got my Lean Six Sigma yellow belt.
Right.
Veteran Transition Support was one of those entities that I had gone to get I wouldn't have found out about it unless I was with Act Now. So I have, a Lean Six Sigma yellow belt. Then I was able to, like, when I was coming up with the VA process, I went to again to see what was available out there. And we were advertising for that too. It's like there's a disability class that, again, VTS puts out every month for you to understand what a VA disability process for somebody that's transitioning or somebody that's already gotten out would look like,
Right.
right? I made my mom sat with me, and apparently now she's an expert at it. She can tell you about disability all day long. But it's just some of those things
Right.
that I think that we bring, like reliable resources for everybody to partake in.
Right, right. And like you mentioned, this all covers military spouses, service members, veterans. You're all part of the military community. And when you're talking about the importance of certifications, I just got my certification. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, probably not, but I just
Oh,
got
I see it from
I
DOL Coach.
yes, I got my certification from DOL Coach in project management. So right now I'm a certified project master. And what the importance of certifications is, I have my MBA in project management. But what this does is this certifies that I have a certain level of knowledge and experience within that field. So I have the degree, right? Which is okay, I got the education, but now I've applied my real life experiences and my overall knowledge to a certain level. So if I'm sitting across the table from a recruiter, I can speak. And here I'm a certified project master, and here's why I've done X, Y, and Z. And they already automatically know that this guy is at a certain level or this gal is at a certain level. It just, in my past experiences interviewing with folks, it's not enough just to have the college degree anymore. You got to really have the certifications to describe and explain where you're at within that degree. What level have you actually done, but have you actually had on the job experience with? So that right there underlines the importance of certifications. And Micki, I just want to ask you if anyone out there is interested in contacting you to follow up with any questions that they have, something that you mentioned during this podcast. What's the best way that they can contact you?
So the best way would be either through Act Now Education. We have the Facebook. I definitely am very active on my LinkedIn also. So LinkedIn is one of the best places because I also feel like, because if you want to contact me in a professional manner, LinkedIn is a place for you to find me, right? So I keep my friends on Facebook and I keep my professionals on LinkedIn. And I also think if you just have a LinkedIn account because you got it, because you needed a Coursera account, please, please, please go ahead and start acting on your LinkedIn account and start, beefing it up, is what I would say. Start adding it. I have recruiters contact me all the time because they see my experience on LinkedIn. And it's one of those places where, you should definitely utilize that we have free LinkedIn for a year premium. You can always get it extended if you need to, just putting it out there. But LinkedIn is the best way to find me. I'm very active on there, and you can also message us on Act Now Education, either Facebook pages, because I also check those, and also our military ones, or military Act Now page.
Awesome. Awesome. And I was going to ask you as a follow up question to that, is there any other tips or pieces of advice you like to give our community listeners out there? And it sounds like you already gave one, which is to beef up your LinkedIn, but do you
Yes.
have any others?
I got plenty, I would say. It's like, brand yourself, find your brand, know what you want to do, and make sure that you voice that. So the people around you and people that are looking for you know exactly what you stand for, right? There should be no wishy-washy things. It's like people know that I am the resource. within my workplace or outside my workplace. If you need questions, hey, people come and ask me all the time. It's like, hey, do you know how I can get X, Y, and Z? I don't, but I know where to find it. So that's
Right.
one of those things. Yes, definitely brand yourself, beef up your LinkedIn, if that's what you're looking for, and educate yourself. Educate yourself as much as you can. There's so much free stuff out there. There's nothing that says you shouldn't. It's always a learning path for everybody.
Right. Right. And I can't tell you how many people I know who are currently in the military right now, or currently in their specific industry. If they're a veteran working somewhere and they were fortunate enough to get a job somewhere, yeah, I ask them often, hey, do you have a LinkedIn? No, I don't have one. I don't need one. I have a
Yes.
job. You know, you need to make sure that you have a LinkedIn. That way you are connecting with people, because you could be missing opportunities to have those conversations of getting a better job, a more ideal salary, a more ideal location. And you're completely missing out because you're not present online. A
I
lot of people,
also think that LinkedIn is just now for like self,
right,
because I have connected so many people,
right,
right? People have come and be like, hey, do you have any, mentors in X, Y, and Z industry? And
right,
because I'm connected with so many different people, I'm not using it for my personal gain. I'm using it more to connect other people. Like one of my really good friends works at Google. A lot of people were like, hey, I'm trying to get, my resume looked at or something. I'm like, hey, I can connect you with somebody if you want. I'm always available to help you and help them. So it's not just has to be about you advertising yourself. If you're good in your job currently, then be that way. But like you said, there could be something better out there for you that you have no idea about because you didn't look. You just stayed
right,
in the little bubble and thought
right.
this was the best you can. But what if? What
Yes,
if something, right? So, and then if you start making more friends, now you have other people that you can help also. Your reach can get bigger. You could be the advocate for the others that need help.
right. Yeah.
Just as, yeah, that's what I think.
I've totally found that places like LinkedIn is a great place for like-minded folks to connect with each other. So if you are a project master or a certified project master and you're into project management and you're a fanatic about it, just like on your LinkedIn, you're an agile fanatic, self-described, right? You can
Yes.
connect with other folks that have your same mindset. And at the end of the day, it's all about leveling up, right? And I really think
Yes.
that Act Now Education, we really create that community and that culture, which is why I love being part of the organization itself. And for anyone out there who might have missed what Micki said earlier, as far as how to contact her, how to connect with her, scroll down to the bottom. You'll see in those show notes, as I always do, I put all those links down at the bottom. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go to the description. You'll see it down there. If you're listening to this on a podcast, same thing. Go to the show notes. You'll see all the links to contact Micki, follow up with her on anything. She is definitely a huge pillar, being the vice president of the glorious Act Now Education. And Micki, I just want to thank you for being on the Morning Formation podcast today. I appreciate your time.
Well, you manhandled me into this, so no, I'm just kidding. Thank you. This was awesome. I should have done this earlier, I feel like, and I'm sorry. I will
No,
tell you
hey,
that,
hey, hey, we're
KP.
here to help each other out. Comfort zones, right?
Absolutely. You did push me out, and I do appreciate you for that.
So at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is helping each other within our military community level up. And for the audience members out there, I want to thank you for tuning in. And as always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.